Do, 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 do,
Do,
do,
do,
do,
do,
do.
do, 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 do. Hello, hello. Welcome to Unprinted Pages with my co-hosts Raz T. Slasher and our amazing guests Mariah Linde and Karie Saunders.
Hey,
These are beautiful authors. One just has a few short stories and many more I have yet to talk her into publish. And Mariah Linde that has a fantastic fantasy series. I think it's fantasy and a apocalyptic story with zombies,
Yes.
and both have different styles of writing, but they're both amazing in how they write. And I definitely recommend checking them out in the links above and below, wherever the heck we hide those, where links go. So, welcome to the show. If you
Hey.
will
hello.
please introduce yourselves.
Uh, I'm Mariah. Nice to meet you all. A little bit
Yay!
special. A little bit weird.
Yay.
Um, I come here and I stalk them from time to time. Uh, but tonight's like I think the first night I've been an interviewee in almost 3 years, 4 years.
Saddening.
Yeah. But it is what it is.
Yes. But we love you and we need more of you.
I'm trying.
You're doing a great job.
I'm doing
Karen.
better than I was a year ago.
Yes.
I'm Karie Saunders. Like I said, I just have a couple of short stories out. You can find me in Nightmare Whispers What Remains, Volume 3. Um, my first short story ever was published in More Lore from the Mythos, and I am also in More Lore from the Mythos 2. The first is out through Fake Core Publishing, and the other two are from Fractured Mind Publishing. So that's where you can find me, and I have more stuff that will be coming out hopefully in both of those, and some submissions out and some other things. And yes, I'm trying to finish a bunch of things and get all of them submitted, and I'm being held accountable now. This is something new in my life. I did not have people before that were like, you need to do this, you need to do this now. And now I have these people in my life, so hopefully you'll be getting to see some more stuff out from me and you'll enjoy it. I write creepy shit, by the way, most of the time. So
I like
that
to
is what you're
figure.
gonna find from me. Yeah, I am more on the horror side of things. I do have some sci-fi fantasy uh projects in the work, but yeah,
Raz
currently
keeps trying to
focusing.
get me to write creepy.
I'm gonna put these away real quick, so
You
forgive
could
me.
probably do creepy, but your story, The Echoes, I felt that in my soul.
Oh wow.
That
Yeah. That is
I,
it. I'll look at some of the things that flit through my mind day by day.
that's always fun. So, tell us about do you have a special mindset when you write your fantasies?
Um, honestly, I'm gonna tell you, no matter what I write, um, it is typically influenced by whatever I'm using as white noise. Um, I know that sounds stupid. Sometimes it's music. Sometimes it is particular movies, or TV shows. Um, Mostly music though. Like I just have a tendency to fall into certain headspaces with certain music and just kind of let loose. Um, it's kind of funny because other people have witnessed it. Like we we used to be in like online chats and stuff, like Ventrilo and all that, and we'd be having conversations, and then a song would come on, and then I'd be dead silent for like an hour, and somebody's messaging going, "Are you dead?" And I'm like, "No, I got distracted. I was writing something. Sorry, my bad." Um, and that happened a lot. Like if there was something, it I don't know what it is, but it like a certain line in a song or a certain melody
Mm-hmm.
um will definitely like kind of trigger me, and it's like, ooh, this would be cool. And ooh, squirrel, go. um I think it's a little bit more kind of organized chaos when it's a movie or a TV show, because I remember the movies and TV shows so well that while they're playing in the background, I'm just kind of sitting there going, "Oh, you know, and you know, these are not the droids you're looking for." Oh yeah, because that happens a lot with Star Wars. I'm not even gonna lie. May the 4th. Yes, I'm supposed to use it to watch everything Star Wars related, but like it'll be on, and at some point in A New Hope, when the Tusken Raiders, take out C-3PO and knock him out, right around then, I'm like, ooh, this would be cool. Right
I'm
when
actually going to be out of town on May the 4th this year, like at a convention.
That is
nice.
That's going to be
awesome.
super interesting and weird. I've never been at a convention on May 4th, so like that should be lots of fun.
Dude, you so
Yes.
totally have to go in Star Wars regalia. Just saying.
See, I'm going to promote Owlite at that con. So any of you guys that are in the area that want to come, we have a table. And that's I think that's Final Boss Con in Ohio. And then yeah, I'll be there the whole weekend promoting like my books and Owlite and haunt stuff. So like there'll be Star Wars stuff everywhere, I'm sure.
Yes.
Well, of
I want
course.
pictures.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So, with the Star Wars stuff, do you like now you have to have watched like all of the Clone Wars, all of the uh, like there's just so much supplemental extra stuff for Star Wars. Do you have to like spend the week of May the 4th just doing nothing but cocaine and watching your show?
um,
uh,
Are
Raz
you a
will tell
movie
you.
purist?
Raz will tell you. I do not use cocaine to do it. What I do is I string myself out on caffeine
Dr. Pepper.
and yeah,
that
coffee.
was a joke, by the way, people. So,
Oh no, I know people that have done it. No judgment. um, but mine
Never.
is caffeine, Dr. Pepper, nicotine, um, and like probably all the worst foods to have in humanity that are energy foods.
Yep.
And I can watch everything. This year I did it in 3 days.
wow.
I
I
did
did it in
Okay.
about the same because I do like while she's doing it, I'm usually doing it at home too.
like like there's random messages going, "You with me?"
Yeah, where are we starting at this year? Like, what order are we doing this year? We've been doing that for decades.
Yeah, because like the first year that we did it, it was right after episode 1 had come out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
So,
was the very
the
first time we ever did it. Yeah.
question was, were we going to start with episode 1 or were we going to start? Because okay, so we were weird because I had the original Star Wars release on video cassette,
Mhm.
but when they got ready for episode 1, they released the special editions, and there was a silver and a gold.
Cool, yeah.
And while the differences were very small, my crazy ass watched both.
Yep.
So yeah, that first year we were trying to decide: do you start with episode 1 or do you watch the original trilogy? And if you watch the original trilogy, which one do you watch? We eventually landed on no original trilogy, and then we'll watch episode 1 because
Yeah.
like the best thing that came out of episode 1 at the time, before I had a real respect for the storyline that they put together, was Duel of the Fates. I fucking love that song. It's like the best scoring ever. John Williams is the man. Uh, uh, I loved that. Like that whole sequence was well done. Um, but you know when they went back and did 1, 2, and 3, at first I was very, it's not as good as the first three. It's not as good as 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6 forever. But at the end, with some maturity and when I started writing again, I could not help but go, man, George Lucas wrote like a kick-ass story. This is awesome.
I'm still not there. I'm still not there for episode 1.
I can
2, I agree with. 2 was, no, 2 I didn't. 2, okay, I liked 1 better than 2, but 3 I actually liked a lot. And I guess if he hadn't set up certain things in 1, I wouldn't like 3 as much. I can see that. But as long as I don't have to watch 2 again, I think I'm okay.
3 was actually exceptional.
I enjoyed it.
Because it was very much, number one, you have to appreciate the story because it's the first time really, and I'm borrowing a line from another movie where you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah. And he does.
He really, really does.
Spoiler alert.
However, I read enough of the books that are now considered not part of the universe. Anakin was extremely smart.
Whiny? Oh, smart, yeah.
No, he was extremely smart because if you read any of the books that came out after 4, 5, and 6, when George Lucas didn't plan to make 1, 2, and 3, they give a little more backstory as to what Vader was doing behind Palpatine's back.
So that's the difference. Okay. Vader was smart. Anakin was a whiny little moron.
He was.
The whole male Skywalker family are nothing but morons and whiny little bitches.
But here's the thing. How much of that was because of how the Jedi Order set things up? Because
a lot, but he got the whiny part of his personality literally burnt out of him. And that's what made him flourish.
Into a volcano, and then you get better.
Hey, Mustafar.
Work for Tom Hanks.
Hey, Tom Dog.
What's up,
man? Hello.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, Mustafar was no joke. Crispy Anakin. He did not just lose the feeling in his nerve endings. Okay, let's just be real clear here.
And then
and also
burn him when he's dead. Isn't that just like a
what?
We'll just stick it, in the original trilogy, they eat when they Ewoks. They're like, "Yay!" and it's time for Vader barbecue.
Yeah, where they make the little drums out of the stormtrooper helmets and all. Yeah, that's awesome.
And these are the conversations you have when you're looking for friends in Alderaan places.
I love it.
You get that one, bro.
It's one of my favorite Star Wars dad jokes.
It really is. Like the first day that he had it, he was like, "Hey."
Again, decades ago.
And he said it, and for a moment I was stunned, and then I was like, "That was the coolest thing ever." And then
I thought I thought I had made it up. Apparently, no, it had been a joke for years. I had just never heard it, so I thought that I invented it for like years, and then that was a little sad when I found out I wasn't. But still.
Yeah, but I mean, the timing on yours was great.
Yeah, I was proud of that.
That one was really good. But yeah, but 4, 5, and 6, I can honestly say Star Wars 4, 5, and 6. I had those playing on repeat when I was writing Dark Fury. Those were going constantly. When I did, I did things kind of backwards because I wrote Dark Fury and it got put into edits, and then they were like, maybe you should do a short story so people kind of understand what this was beforehand. So I went back and I wrote the novella that starts the series, which is Darkness Falls. When I was doing that, that was not a movie. That was not even a TV show. That was literally um a classic rock station that I put together on Pandora with Led Zeppelin and Heart and like Boston.
Yeah.
And I will be honest, the first 5 chapters were all pretty much written to Stairway to Heaven. Um, no, I wasn't tripping balls at the time. I wish I was. That would have been awesome. But yeah, Stairway to Heaven um was what was playing when I wrote those first 5 chapters. Um and I think anybody who knows that will kind of go into reading that and go, yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, it's got a strong vibe for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Something to look forward to for new readers.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um
I mean, I'm obviously partial to all her writing personally, so like, I'm in the most of what she writes in some way or another, so I automatically like it.
that's true.
Is on my list to finish when I accomplish these arcs that I have in my thing. So yes. Does
Uh,
Karie have a mindset when she writes?
oh, yeah. I have to have, pardon me, when I'm writing, I have to know that I don't have anything coming up. So if like somebody's going to be coming to my house or something like that's going to happen, I'm not writing. Because once I get going, I have to stay going as long as possible. And if somebody interrupts, it throws everything off that I have going on and that I'm like done for weeks until I can find myself to get back into that spot again.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm listening to music at all, it either has to be in a language that I don't speak or it has to have no words, like maybe some jazz or something in the background. Um, or just absolute silence. I can't double brain. I used to be able to do that really well. I used to be able to write and or read while still paying attention to something else, and I have completely lost that ability. So most of what I do is, as far as coming up with the ideas, I dream them. I sleep a lot and I dream really intense. And so when I'm stuck with something, I'll start trying to think about it as I'm going to bed. And I'll I'll just wait until I dream what's supposed to happen next. Because if I start writing, my characters will jump in and be like, "No, I'm not doing that. No, that's absolutely not what I'm doing. I'm doing this instead." And so I get hung up on that. And that's a lot of why some of my longer stuff hasn't been finished is because I'm in ongoing negotiations with my characters as to what they are going to do so that we can get the plot progressing in the way that it's supposed to without them completely derailing the story and making it a, an entirely different book. But yeah, most of my stuff comes with utter silence or the cat, who's on my lap now, um, hanging out and telling me what else I should do. And yeah, I just I gotta have full focus on the thing because hearing other words, that's the thing with like I can listen to music in a different language because then I'm not singing along with it, and or I might be, but I don't know exactly what I'm saying, so it's just kind of like humming, and I'm not fucking up and typing in the word. It's like get halfway through and be like, wait, I'm writing "hungry by like the wolf." Damn it,
I've done that.
or something. Yeah, I'll start messing things up that way. So,
Mine is never what I'm using as white noise. It's never the music or uh the show. But I swear to God, if my husband and my son walk in and start having a conversation, I start transposing their whole conversation into what I'm writing. That pissed me off something fierce when I was writing contingency. I was like, are you fucking serious? Leave the room.
I can see that too. That's such a dialogue heavy like book.
Yeah. And it was when he was in his bionicle phase.
Okay.
And so he was talking about how he had made this new super bionicle that had this and this that were parts of another one, and it's it was a dumb conversation, but it ended up like slap dab in the middle of like a whole talkie scene in contingency. It was the scene where everybody was on the chat call.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that
And
was a very dialogue heavy. So I can see how that ended up in there, yeah.
yeah, so it was like, ah. So I'm with you on the other people coming in thing. I can't do that. Don't speak to me
Yeah.
when I'm writing. Now I can do text messages. You can text me all you want. The minute somebody speaks to me, gone.
I guess I'm okay as long as I'm not getting a lot of text messages. Like if a channel's going off that I'm subscribed to, it's like, okay, mute it, mute it, mute it, mute it, mute it.
Right.
But yeah, I just it drives me nuts too because I have people in my life who say they're going to come over at a certain time, and then it'll be like 3 days later, and I've waited the whole time because I don't know when they're going to be there, and it's just like, wow, I could have knocked something out, you know.
I could have done
Could
that. Yeah.
could have gotten this done, could have gotten that done, could have at least gotten some research or something done, but I didn't want to get in the middle of a deep dive something and then have to stop and then try to figure out why I was exactly where I'm at because you have to follow the rabbit hole all the way. You can't just stop mid rabbit hole and then pick back up where you are.
Oh yeah, it'll fuck you up so bad.
It really will.
Yeah, because then you'll be like, oh, this looks interesting. This has nothing to do with what I was researching, but it's in blue too, so I can link to it. Ooh, cool. You know, I'm the most distracted person, and I over research everything.
God, yes. We've talked about that so much.
Yeah, we joke about it, and I have the like, it's not wood.com. It is I
That's a
guess.
different site.
Yeah, no, Karie Stories. It's under the Wood database. Is yeah, it's in my bookmark list under. All, I have so many folders and files and things so deep, but because there is one story that I'm writing or one book that I'm writing, and in it, one of the characters is a carpenter, and his daughter is one of the main characters, and they're going to have a discussion about something. And just to make sure, in case a carpenter ever happens to read the story with the one paragraph that's going to discuss or maybe one page or something that's going to discuss this particular way that they're going to do something with wood. Yeah, I have to have it right because I I get driven to distraction by people who write something that's not right. Like all it took you to do was like 5 minutes of research.
Right.
I've gone in and studied or vulcanizing rubber as an editor for somebody. I like.
And you've at least figured out that Soddy Daisy, Tennessee is a place.
Yes. Yes. Now I know if like sod. Okay, so there's a lot of sod.
And
There's
daisies.
daisies growing up. So is the soddy daisy like? Is it a special planter? What do you?
No. It's two towns that decided to join together as one town, and for some odd reason they got a nuclear plant, and people live there. And yeah, and it surprised me how few people know like where other people live. But then again, it surprised me that people went to Chattanooga for vacation.
Yeah, we did.
Pardon me.
I've been on the
boy.
Chattanooga Choo Choo back in the day. Back in the 80s.
I know the
Did
Chattanooga.
you ever go to Laramie Street?
Probably.
Did you see the Chattanooga Shoeshine Boy? Was he there?
I mean, possibly. This was back in the 80s, man. That's a long time. There's a lot of weed ago.
My
A lot of weed
We
in
were
my
on
life.
the other side of the tracks, so no.
My uncle's band back in the day on one of the records that we have of theirs had both the Chattanooga Choo Choo and the Chattanooga Shoe Shine Boy. So like those were songs that I grew up to. I've recently learned now that I'm almost 50 that songs that I grew up to are not necessarily songs that other people grew up to, and they're like, "What? What the hell are you talking about?" Or like, "Oh, I have heard of that song existing. I had no idea." And I'm like, "Let me tell you the entire history behind why it was made." I go
And
into
not
much.
everybody has a schizophrenic grandma, those sort of things.
Yeah,
But anyways, let's get back to like coffee talk. Well, author talk. You like coffee or tea,
Hot
ladies?
chocolate.
coffee.
Okay, so as card carrying resident of the South, I have to tell you, sweet tea.
Yes.
Um,
Cheers.
I,
Exactly what's in the flamingo.
yeah. Although I will say, when I am running on empty, I do like. I have discovered a coffee, a Dunkin' Donuts coffee called Turtle Lovers.
Oh, that's nummy.
I like
I
turtle.
love, yeah, I love that coffee, especially with peppermint mocha creamer. Just saying.
Oh, that's nummy.
Yeah.
This is Trader Joe's cold brew, and I just keep reusing the bottles. I put out that much of the coffee in them. It's concentrated. And then I put in about this much. I squirt chocolate syrup in to cover the bottom layer, and then I pour in, because, I'm trying to be healthy, skim milk to the top. And then I
Mm.
shake it all up. So I have my like cold brew mocha variation thing.
And this is Mountain Dew.
I
Well,
finished my Mountain Dew before show.
I don't drink any kind of tea or any kind of coffee. I used to love coffee and tea, like all kinds like chais, oolongs, the kinds of stuff. And then my first real bad problem with bleeding ulcers kind of killed coffee and tea for me. And ever since then, I kind of lost the taste for it. So now if everybody wants to go get coffee, I just got chocolate because I still fucking love hot chocolate.
That rocks. I showed my kid how to make chocolate syrup today, and we had chocolate milk. It was awesome.
Right.
Very cool.
Okay.
Eating them.
Do you guys have anywhere special you'd like to write?
I always write here in my corner. It's just where my place is set up for writing. And I used to write in my kitchen, and I think I'm better here, even though the keyboard is more awkward for me in here. Um, but I'm just short, and so chairs and desks and stuff are always going to be weird for me to sit at. I think Mariah, you probably have the same problem as I do with like trying to find a desk that's right. But
Um,
I don't
I
know.
actually found one. The biggest problem was the chair. Because,
Yeah.
like, the desk I'm comfortable with, the desk, like, it's what I've got set up is great for a command center. So, whether I'm writing or playing a video game, it's awesome. But what was tricky was finding a chair.
Yeah.
Because I wanted one that was comfortable, but I could still sit up and not, have Tyrannosaurus Rex syndrome with my arms. Uh,
And I have right now. I'm like,
I went through this whole thing when I moved where I'm at now to find like the perfect desk and the perfect chair. I went through a couple different desks, which are being used in other places now. And I found this one on Amazon for like 75, $80. It's an L shape. And it's got like a riser for like multiple monitors around the back, but it also plugs into the wall and it's got like 4 plugs for your monitors and your computer and stuff. It's got HDMI or not HDMI, USB plugs in it. And it's huge. And one side has a cup holder and the other side has a hook for my headphones. And I just kind of put a a filing cabinet over at the other end so I could kind of keep everything together. And like that was cool. But then I went through like 5. We had like so many different kinds of office chairs at the haunt. I would just go borrow an office chair and try it. And I spent 3 months looking for a chair that I could actually stand that wasn't painful to sit in or would have me where I wanted to be. So, and then I realized I'm tall and fat. So automatically, like the cheapest chair I can find is like $150. And that's a problem because if you're going to sit in a chair for 8 hours or more a day, you can't make your health worse. So I started researching, doing all this crazy shit. And I found this guy that lived right by the theme park that I was always going to. He had this chair. It was for 350-pound people, which was great because that's like 100 pounds more than I needed. But it was like, it has an open back so it breathes, but it's functional and it can adjust in like 1,000 different ways. But the chair was like a $400 chair. Well, then I saw his posting and he got it brand new out of the box, assembled it, and he still was over the weight limit by a little bit and didn't fit comfortably into the chair. Sold it to me for 50 fucking bucks, man.
That is awesome.
Yeah, like, this is like the most comfortable chair I've ever had or will ever have in my life. When it dies, I'm going to bury it in the yard.
My chair's name is Reynold, and it's in the other room. But I got nurses' desks in there, or what I have, because one of the hospital, they sell off their stuff when they replace everything, and that was with I had the Logitech K120 keyboard. Yes, they're super cheap, I know, but
Oh, yeah.
I'm used to them. And
Yeah.
so writing here has been really difficult, but I do have the most wonderful chair. I can't get in there because there's a table taking up the most of the space in my kitchen that we thought would work and didn't, and then haven't been able to get rid of. So I can't get to Reynold, and
Mhm.
my tower is broken. So that's why I'm
In your corner.
I'm in my corner. But
It's
I
a
wish I had
beautiful
Reynold.
corner.
I like my corner. This chair I'm sitting, as you can tell, like this is the corner, this is the like side of the chair I'm sitting sideways. And so by the end of the night, my knees, which already have arthritis, are just like, we're done, and your back's gonna hurt tonight too. Get out the lidocaine, yay!
Yeah.
So the funny thing about my desk is, I spent like $120 on a desk that had like a bookshelf attached to it and all this stuff. And when we went back to Fayetteville, I went back to take care of my grandfather after my grandmother passed. And Raz can tell you, like, my grandmother was a huge influence with me. And so we moved back, and I'm trying to help take care of him. And of all the things that he could have done, he goes, "Hey, I'm trying to make room in the house, but since you're here and you've got all that computer stuff, why don't you take this?" He gave me my grandmother's old desk.
Oh wow.
My grandmother was an office secretary for years. So she has like this, it's not even plywood. This is like a real wood desk. And it's got black lacquer on the top, and it's almost shaped like a diamond, but she had a second part made to it. So it's got an L shape that comes off to the side. And I grew up like sneaking to my grandmother's desk and finding goodies and stuff for her. So
That
yeah, so when he told me to take the desk, I was like, say less.
Had me a
Um
desk.
yeah, got me a desk. And it's kind of funny because went through living with him and him passing, and then moving somewhere else in Fayetteville, and then moving up here when we got moved to this store. And it wasn't until we went to move up here we pulled the desk apart. My grandmother had engraved her name and my name into the side of the desk.
Oh,
Oh wow. That is awesome.
And I didn't know it until we moved it. And like the day we're moving, we had taken apart the desk and we had brought it into the new house, and it looked horrible because we had no furniture. And he went to go get the second part of the desk, and I just happened to see it out of the corner of my eye. And he comes in, and I'm bawling like a fucking baby. And he's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Leave me alone. Don't put it down yet. I'm fine."
Aw.
I took a picture of it and I sent it to my mom. I was like, "Did you know she did this?" And she was like, "No, nobody knew it was there." So I have no clue when she did that.
That is
that's
amazing.
fucking cool, man.
I love that.
Your grandma was awesome, though. For real.
She really was. She really was.
I love
I
grandma.
miss her. Like, honestly, we're coming up on the anniversary of her death.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. It's
Believe
kind
it
of
or not, that's something that I mark in my calendar every year. Still.
yeah. And I mean, I love the fact that she waited for Christian's birthday to be over. She was like, "No, not today." And it
That
was
is
the
sweet.
next day. Yeah. Well, it was really in the end. You have to understand, she was, if you know how you talk about people that were just a force of nature, that was her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like my grandmother was a spitfire, but at the same time, she was Southern Baptist. So like while she was a spitfire, she could make you feel like you had just ended the world, but she never uttered a single curse word ever.
She didn't need to.
Me too. But she was also one of those people that could like build you up and get you moving and going.
That is wonderful.
Um, my grandmother, she was, just to give you an idea of how she was. The first time she got diagnosed with breast cancer, I was 8 years old. I never even knew. She took me and my brother every weekend. We stayed at her house. We were there from Friday to Sunday night. She cooked. There was movies, there was video games, there was board games. She literally had us every weekend. Um, Church on Wednesdays, church on Sundays, family get-togethers once a month. Like this woman just did not stop. I didn't find out she had initially been diagnosed until I was 16 years old, and she had already beaten it once. After I had my son, it came back. Um, that time I was a medic, so when they did the outpatient thing because she was older, they said she had to have somebody that would come and do the drainage tube and all that for her. So I did it. And the second time, again, beat it like a champ. And like it was horrible because that was 2 mastectomies, and she went through chemo and radiation and everything, and she was still, fuck this, I'm not doing it, I'm not going this way. But what ended up happening was I had moved out of town. She got AML, and we didn't know at the time, but the second time that she was diagnosed, the treatment that they chose is actually known to cause acute myeloid leukemia later on.
Oh wow.
The thing about AML is your survival rate is based on your age. So when they diagnosed it, it was already advanced, and they said her survival rate was like 95%, or not. Her was 5%.
Mortality rate. Yeah.
Her mortality rate was 95%, and like the day that they told me, we were doing the podcast, and my head was not in a good spot. And the worst part is they told us on October, I want to say it was 8th. She was gone November 20th. Like there was no time. So that was like but she went out kicking. Like as bad a shape as she was in. My son's birthday is November 19th. And I headed back to see him. I had gone down to visit, and like she was full on hospice, taking morphine every 4 hours. Like it was bad. And they were like, "Oh no, she's gonna go today." And they said that when I went to leave. That woman said, "Fuck y'all, I ain't going." And she waited, and she passed. Literally, I put Christian on the bus at 7:08 in the morning. They called me 5 minutes later and said she had gone. So, she held out, and I'm even like that. She was like, "No, I'm doing this my way." And I want to be her when I grow up.
And
Really.
please tell him happy birthday from us.
I will. We're doing, last year he turned 21, so I did my duty. I kept my son at home, and I got him drunk here. It was the first time he'd ever been drunk, and he was like, "I'm never doing that again." So Task accomplished. So this year, when I asked him what he wanted, he was like, "Hey, Mom, can you cook all this stuff from the Lord of the Rings again?"
I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah, because I did that last year. Like it was a 2-day thing. He wanted all the food from the Lord of the Rings. I wanted to make sure he got the 21-year-old experience. So we did Lord of the Rings night 1. We got him drunk night 2. I never want to do the Lord of the Rings food ever again. That was
I didn't know how you survived that, dude. That was so awesome because you were showing pictures of everything, and I remember I kept asking you guys questions about it.
oh yeah. The Eye of Sauron cake was horrible because you know what I think it looked like. Like that was bad.
Yeah.
My
Spoiler.
my grandmother, as she got older, had we called them like owly eyes, because if she'd have her glasses off in particular, she'd be really staring at you, and like scared the shit out of my daughter once. She went out on the front porch, and Mom's house was set up so that the room that my grandparents were staying in, the window looked out on the front porch, and Maddie looked up once and just like, because Grandma was looking out the window at her. But I replaced her eyes. I was playing with Photoshop, and so like at one point I took out her eyes and put in the eyes of Sauron, and then in another one I took the eye of Sauron and just like took out the eyeball and put Grandma's face in it.
That's terrifying.
Okay, so
Sorry, I interrupted.
no, you're fine. Like,
So I have Sauron cake though. Go on.
like, because you guys just don't understand. So I'm gonna share. If somebody wants to put this up so somebody else can see it, or so that the audience can see it, and you have a way to do so, that's fine. But I sent Raz this picture from where I made all this food for his birthday. The Eye of Sauron cake, I actually went around the edge and wrote in Elvish so that I could make it not look like what it looks like. Cause it's bad. Yeah. There you go.
It's the vagina of Sauron.
It is. It is. It looks
I
horrible.
take it you're uploading it to the overlay.
I can. Let me see it.
Because she said she sent it to you, so that.
No, she put it in the Allied Army.
I put
Okay.
it in the Allied Army.
Give me a minute. I'll
Okay.
get 'em up.
Then
Raz has seen
if
I'm
you're
on it.
doing it, that's great. Because I didn't realize I turned off Facebook, so it wouldn't go ding at stupid times.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
wanted to hear you guys.
No, that's fair. The day that I'm doing this, like Raz is texting, he's going, "You making all that stuff?" Yeah. Like I did everything. I did lambus bread. I did coney stew, potatoes, because that's Christian's thing.
Potatoes.
Here we
Yeah.
go, I got it.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
Vagina of Sauron.
it's bad. Oh,
It still looks really fucking cool though, regardless.
Oh yeah. But you're an awesome mom, though. That rocked.
Yeah.
and he wanted red meat on the bone. Do you know how hard that is to find? That is extremely hard to find. It took me 2 weeks to find a place to go get it.
Mhm.
And it was such a waste because it was gone in like an hour. That thing was huge, but yeah. Coney stew, fruit tarts. Yeah. I did a whole bunch of stuff for his birthday. Now he's like, "Can you do it again?" Yeah.
Do
I guess.
Really?
I was like, "Can we do Harry Potter one year and watch the movies?"
Yeah, I remember you were talking about you were going to do that one. I got to see that too.
Yeah, well, he wanted to do it at first, but I think part of the reason he backed off of it this year is because Thanksgiving is literally 3 days later.
True. That's when I watched the Hunger Games.
Yeah. So I'm kind of grateful because I don't have a big enough fridge, but I'm kind of not because Lord of the Rings is still a pain in my ass. And I told him, I said, I might not bake the cake this year. And he was like, "Okay." I'm totally lying. I'm so going to bake the cake. But what I'm actually going to do this time is instead of making the Eye of Sauron like that, I'm making cake pops.
Nice.
I think that's going to be the way that I get around the vaginas. The vagina cake. Um, on the plus side, it stayed moist. So,
Yeah.
you know, hey,
Dead.
well,
That's what you want in the vagina of Sauron. You want a nice level of moistness to retain.
yeah.
The only way to get
Otherwise, you've got to lube the cake, and it's a mess.
the only way to do even further is stress late Jason underneath, and then it's beyond moist.
I mean, you've heard of the warm apple pie technique. This is just up in the game, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I have to have goals. So,
Yeah,
I'll
life
get
goals.
complete. Anyways, we've been so far from the original list of questions. It's not funny.
There was a list.
there was a list.
Yeah, there's always a list of at least 5 questions, and we're 45 minutes in, and I think we've done 2. And it's been one of the most fun interviews ever, so I'm not complaining.
So, let me say example. Ooh, squirrel.
Yeah, and we brought Ratatosker. And we all know what
There was a girl.
Ratatosker is. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't, it's look in the Owlite Society. I
She's
put
got
it
it up right
there.
now. I see him.
Yes, but I mean the introduction video to
Yeah, that's true.
Ratatosker. He needed an introduction video. So, yeah. Anyways, back to the random list of weird questions I have.
Okay.
Let's see how far we scroll off on this one. Which character is most like you but gives you the most problems?
Ooh.
I already know the answer to this. I think for you.
I don't know. I'm kind of torn.
Because Raz, if you want to join in, because this one is I like this question with all authors.
Oh, for me, hands down, the creature is the most like me of anything that I have ever written in my entire life. Even when I've modeled myself directly on certain things, the creature has my terrible sense of humor, my not understanding social interactions, just the blunt way of speaking, and just does not give a shit. So yeah, I would say inadvertently that he's 100% more me than anything I've ever done or will ever do.
And so far, my favorite quote from him is, "And one fucktard."
Yeah, and one fucked hard. Plus, the original book release had a recipe for yellow cake with chocolate icing, which is my family's recipe for that, and it's my favorite cake ever. So, like, the fact that the creature also loves it is, another thing.
Yes, and the Cassie asked for the recipe so she can make it.
It's in that book, which you'll have a copy of as soon as I gather them all and send things.
So, there are actually 2 characters I have that are completely based on me in stories that I've written. One is in contingency. And honestly, the dry sarcasm and smart assiness is pretty on point.
It is. It's spot on.
However, there was an urban fantasy that I was working on that I kind of killed. Where the main character was based on me about 90%. I just kind of killed the project because it was in a phase. But I can honestly say one thing that I've tried to do with all of my work, except for the novella, each book has a female protagonist, and some part of that female protagonist is me. You just have to know where to look. There's a little bit of me in all of them. I think I can't help that. But yeah, so that's about the best I can give you.
That is awesomeness, though. I love it. What about Karie?
What's weird is I write a lot about things that happen in my dreams. So a lot of my stories, most of which are not yet published, are basically written by me, from me, but they aren't exactly me. There will be small changes in things. But the character that I actually relate to the most is Althea Smythe, who is not me. Uh, but it's kind of like I wish I was her, you know? She's who I would love to be. And so I like to write her, like I don't marry Sue out, I think, on her or anything like that, but she gets to do the things that I can't or
Yeah.
that I want to do. So she's the character that I relate to the most. The problems that I have with her are that she has much more um, cultural exposure to certain things, and she is smarter than I am, which it's very hard to write somebody who is smarter than you are. You know, you have to do a lot of looking up and then finding other people who are smarter than you and saying like, "Hey, you're smarter than me. Is this right?
Oh yeah.
Fix it
I've
so
done
that it's
that.
right for me." So yeah,
I didn't think
Done
about there
that in
being a
college.
character that like the aspect of having a character like where you write one that it's like everything you wish you were as a person. I hadn't really thought about that before, but I think I have one of those too. It's Seth. Seth Ridlock, the bard. Like he's a lot like I was in some ways back in my band days, but like just so much more is well, he's not even entirely human, but he's just so much more that like if I could be anything that I wrote, I would be him for sure.
Althea fortunately is just does the introduction to things. She all of my mythos stories start off with she is a collector of things, and so she's sharing what she got a hold of. So the stories are all from different perspectives. It just starts off with her getting them and like relating them to people or relaying the informations. But it's like I would love to be like a wealthy person who was raised in this, specific society and able to have all of these things, but I'll just make up the stories instead and ta-da.
Right.
I
The
like that.
issue,
And
yeah, the issue
Oh,
I've had with my characters. I have one in particular that I'm having issue. I've actually got two. It's two characters that I had, and I plan on doing books for both of them. But I have one who is so okay. So I was kind of one of those RPers that I would let other people run the story. I didn't try to control it. I just kind of played into it. The problem with this is um doing that with one of these characters that I want to write her story. She is so completely fucked up
Yeah.
and unlikable.
I don't
and
think she's unlikable. I wouldn't say she's unlikable.
and in some ways unredeemable because of the things that she's had to do. I don't know that I can write that at all. Um
you could always try writing pieces and see where you get.
yeah, it's bad. It's like you have to understand, Raz knows her timeline. he was present for most of it.
Yeah. It's tough. It's gonna be tough. You can do it, but it's gonna be tough.
I don't know how to make her likable.
Well, you write from her perspective so that everything she's doing is for a good purpose.
Mhm.
But it's not. Like even like
Or
I'm gonna be really honest. So okay, fucked up. It's a fucked up backstory. I'm just gonna tell you fucked up backstory because it ties into another one of my characters. And in order to not, we called it crossing when we were RPing. You never wanted you couldn't have one character have knowledge of another or have knowledge of something that was told to another character because that's considered god moding.
Yeah.
or metagaming, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's metagaming. So I did probably the worst things that I could do to put a giant Chinese wall between these two characters. Now the problem is one is the mother and one is the daughter.
Oh
And
no.
the mother, I've done a pretty good job with that one. I've kept her like nice and docile and people like her. The daughter, not so much. Like I have let people do some really horrible things to this chick. And in doing that, there's been a couple of psychotic breaks that ended in, mass homicide. Just saying. Um and I think the point where I let other people guide the story in the RP, and for some reason, look, this character should have died long ago, and she never did. Like she's kind of like a cockroach. Like they kept trying to kill her, and she just wouldn't go. I think the thing that broke her for me, and I really can't find a way around it, and I can't find a way to make it where it's justifiable, is I got backed into a corner by the other people RPing, and they had her kill her own children.
Yeah, I remember that.
It saved their realm, it saved everyone else, but literally that she did that. And honestly, I haven't really played her since. So trying to like flesh out a storyline where she can do that and it's acceptable, I'm not
That's
sure.
hard.
Yeah. Like, I mean, in the big picture thing, okay, it was a giant apocalypse, the world was ending, you know, the big bad had possessed her sons.
And you were a Buffy fan.
Yeah, pretty much. I was a Buffy fan. And let me tell you,
Brilliant.
Nyx was kick ass. Like, it didn't matter. Like, she could be a complete total bitch, but she was kick ass because everybody else, you know, in the game that we were playing was all like, I got to rank up. Oh, I got to rank up. Oh, I got to rank up. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do that. And she's just like, I'm just going to fucking kill you anyway. Why do you care?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she never ranked up. I never ranked her up. I was just like, yeah. Like, when I tell you she should have been killed off, she should have been killed off. And people tried. That's the worst part. People tried. They would hit the max rank of the game and they would come back and try to kill her. And she'd be like, no.
Something would always happen.
Yeah, something would always happen and she would win. And I was just like, I would be, you know, IMing her ass going, how the fuck did that just happen? What the hell? Like, I've tried to kill her off. The thing is she is such a strong character. Like, the stuff that she survived, it's always been in my head. I wanted to do her story, but I'm finding it really hard to find a way to flesh it out to a point that is acceptable.
Right.
Suggestion.
Mhm.
Read, even if you've read it before, read again A Clockwork Orange.
I love that story.
Yeah.
Love it too. And he is not very much of a redeemable character.
Nope.
But
No,
you still love him as a character through the whole thing.
And
So
and that's kind of the part where I'm torn, because her incidents of being completely unlikable kind of pale in comparison to the ones where you're like, damn, she's awesome.
Yeah.
Because, like,
I mean, Medea killed her kids and fed them to her husband, so
Yeah.
you know.
that's fair.
And there's other reasons for unlikable characters. Like, okay, for example, the Anita Blake series. Anita Blake herself, I've only read the first 8 or 9 books, is a very strong character, but she compromises herself over and over and over up to where I've read for literally the sake of other people's egos sometimes. And it sometimes makes her an infuriating character to read. A good, well-written character, like a very well-written, like they're great books, but like there are times when to me her character is slightly unlikable because of her compromises. So there's all kinds of different reasons to have characters that are unlikable at times, but not necessarily redemption, but find things about them that are still compelling for readers to, you know, come back to.
Yeah. Well, and you know more than anybody else why I kind of can't let go of her. You know, she's the second oldest character that I ever fleshed out.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not going to be hard. People are going to love Lara. Let's just be really honest. You have had more interaction with that character. You know more about her.
Yeah.
And how she is. Like, it is impossible not to like her.
It really is. Yeah, it is definitely impossible.
Like, phenomenal cosmic power. She's so cute. You want to just
An alternate choice I found with Ember Holt, JD Astra. Same lady, different book she's writing now. So she's going with her alternate pen name. She did the story one way in her books, and then she played the character and went a totally different way. And I love both stories, both versions of Dolly, but that is the option she chose. But that would be my suggestion. Take the story, but with it being able to be you played it one way for some people because you can see it, and then
which
she wrote it where she went an alternate direction with the same people.
which is what I'm trying to flesh out, because that idea has been there and I kind of know some of the stuff I need to strip away, but it's what you're replacing it with.
Yeah.
And who. Because honestly, there are some people that we used to interact with when we RP'd that I would just as soon forget their names.
Yeah, no kidding. I
and-
second that.
And forget the characters that they had involved in that story. And that's fine. It's the rewriting that particular part, because each story that we RP'd kind of gave me a loose timeline to work with.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like this happened and this happened and this happened. It's up to my interpretation what happens in between. But if I'm eliminating certain parts of these timelines to eliminate what I allowed these other people to cause, what am I replacing it with?
Yeah.
Have you wrote down the original timeline and then started working on the other timeline and put them
There's
side by
6
side?
notebooks.
So,
There's
okay.
Literally
So-
6 notebooks.
So you've done like I have done and just like put it out visually.
Yes,
'Cause
because
some people do note cards. It all
Well-
depends on the person.
Yeah.
Nyx's timeline also kind of wraps around Lara's, which
Uh-huh.
is why there's 6 notebooks, because Lara was a character that I put a lot of thought into. And while I've introduced her in the Avalon series, nobody's really gonna see her till like book 5.
Okay.
So when I tell you Lara is extremely fleshed out, like this whole book series runs on her timeline. Like it's Lara's timeline. Everybody else is just on for the ride.
Yep.
It's literally how it is. So her daughter's story is kind of twisted in the back half of that timeline.
Yes.
And it's the daughter that's so unlikable because of the situations the two of them got put in. I can go with the initial part of Nyx's early life. That's easy to do because Lara's storyline is kind of set in stone. At that point, she has no control over what's going on, and her kids do not even know who she is, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I can throw all that off. That's great. It's what happens in Nyx's timeline period that kind of twists everything.
Oh yeah.
So,
So you have the one person's dead set, this is what's happening, and you have to take the other
Yes.
person's and make it curveball around it.
yeah, because in the end, I'm trying not to give spoilers. In the end, you need both of them.
Yeah.
Raz
I'm not
understands
disagreeing.
that.
I'm just looking
Yeah.
forward to getting them.
Yeah, literally two sides of the same coin. Literally. But in Nyx's case, events and fate kind of made it so that she went way, way dark. Uber dark.
Well, and sometimes you need super dark in something, and they don't have to be redeemable.
No.
An example of this I'm pulling up, it's a comic book thing, but it's also because Raz is getting ready to read it.
So
There
you send me
was
links. Still waiting.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
You're good.
the Immortal Hulk series by Al Ewing that came out a couple
Oh
years ago.
yeah. Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
so yeah, but there are characters in there, they're irredeemable, you know,
Yeah.
and but they're still very important, and the story is driven by them. But we didn't have to like them. We just had to we just saw how the story was influenced by just their existence. You know, there was so much of that darkness was brought in by. I'm not gonna ruin it for Raz or anybody who has read it. Go read it, by the way.
And I think that's why she plagues me so much. Like I try to work on other stuff, but it all comes back to Nyx and Amina. Those are the two I'm trying to fix. And Nyx, yes, she has done some horrible things. I will never say she has not done horrible things because she has done horrible things. But it was never done with the intention of being evil. That was never the intention. Um it was always done to kind of be some kind of balancing act for the universe itself for her
Yes.
or some force of good because what made what I loved about her was no matter how bad the shit was did to her, at the end of the day, angry as she was, angsty as she was always trying to do something right. She was
Right.
trying to do something right. It was just the execution that ended up bloody, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I always kind of, as much of a hard ass as she tried to be, there were times where she had soft moments or, feely moments, and those were phenomenal. And I feel like those moments kind of get lost when you kill your own kids.
Yeah.
It's how do you justify that now? And I don't want that because I want people to love her as much as I did because I loved playing her. She was a great smartass. She was a great smartass and kind of snarky and just kind of like you couldn't help but like her even when she was being kind of cocky. And then when she would kind of show her soft side, you loved her just a little bit more, and then she'd act like it never happened.
Yeah.
I want people to fall in love with that character, not the one that ends up, hands shoved into her son's chest, ripping his heart out. That just, yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
That
Yeah,
is hard.
it's hard to go through, but you can either rewrite what happened, make it slightly different, because it's you have the notes from what it was saying, but nothing's forcing you to have to go exactly the way that you had the stories go,
True.
or
And
just
I've considered writing out the twins. I really have. I've considered writing out the boys, but for the longest time, they were like her sole focus. I'm kind of hung up on what it should be. Like what the focus should be if I eliminate them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm working on it. Like this is something Raz will tell you. Like every 4 months, I kick this at him, and I'm like, "How do we fix it?"
Yeah.
Yeah. There was some stuff going on in the Black Company series too, where Lady and Croker had a child, and she was being set up to be the host for this dark goddess, and they were never sure if it was really her or the child, so they had to keep her locked in a cage basically, and it, like dragging her around, and cultists kept trying to grab her, and some people were trying to kill her, and some people were trying to kidnap her, and everything. And at the same time, they're sitting there looking at this thing and being like, apparently this is our kid. Great. Because she'd been held away from them forever, so just very, difficult characters to identify with in some cases, and then the impact that had on all of the different characters involved,
Yeah,
oh, we're their friends. That's their kid. We understand how hard this is, but that kid is evil. We need to kill it, or we must protect it because that guy wants to kill it. And
Yeah.
they think, but they think of it as it instead of her half the time, because they aren't sure what she actually is.
Right.
Is she a host? Is she has she been possessed by this? Is it something that's just a possibility? What's going on? So
Well,
yeah, you can see that it's hard to read, some of that stuff. So it's hard to write.
Oh yeah, definitely.
well, like, and Raz's last idea on how to fix it was, why don't you just start typing, something dark and see where you go. Okay, shouldn't have done that either. No.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah, when I was doing the series on Reddit on the No Sleep, the hotel series. I was writing Lady Elizabeth Bathory, and basically Lady Elizabeth Bathory, if she had a hotel that functioned as a TARDIS,
Right.
and so she was time traveling, but also I wrote her because all the different things I had to give her some sort of supernatural thing. So she was a witch in mine who used blood magic to keep her youth and to do a lot of other things. She could kind of heal people for anyway. Long story. But yeah, I was like writing it, having fun, doing stuff, and then I was like, wow, I just pretty much wrote like the mutilation and sacrifice of this person and like bathing in blood in like almost an erotic fashion. And hmm, maybe I should talk to my therapist about that. I don't know.
Did you know you could write that?
Yeah, I was like, this is a bit darker than I'm used to like writing. Like I've read things like this, but I I normally avoid actually putting this all down, but at the same time, it reads really well. So I'm going to keep it. I'm just going to keep an eye on not going past that line again, you know. At least for this character, it doesn't need to ever cross any further than that. So, yeah, when you write darker than you knew that your brain was willing to go, you kind of just go, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay then."
Yeah, my brain goes pretty dark a lot in my short stories, and I have no idea how I get there.
I just write shit sometimes, and then
Yeah.
sometimes it works out, and sometimes it don't.
I have no idea why I have an obsession with being a kid and being around kid ghosts. But my brain, I think, is still stuck back when I was a kid around kid ghosts.
Yeah,
I mean, that'd do it, you know.
big time.
Would definitely do it.
Now I have a lot of adult ghosts, and I'm thankful that they're adults, but the kids are still saddening.
Yeah.
Especially the ones on actual Leaigh, but let's not go that dark. Anyway, yeah, I was not making a crack at you. I literally actually lived on Lee Lane in Caldwell. So, um, anyways, do you
So how
have
far did we scroll on that one? Did we do okay?
that one? We went pretty far left field, but it also stayed on track at the same time, which I don't know if made any sense in that particular thought process.
It's us. It doesn't
Anyway,
have to make sense.
do you have a character that you just want to go out on a coffee date with? Or
Sex.
a whatever your favorite drink is date?
Like our characters or
Yeah,
somebody else?
characters you wrote that you would like to just go hang out with, have a meal, have a coffee, or have something and just talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one that I'm writing
Ooh,
who is it, unfortunately he's a dragon, but it's one of those dragons that when needed can make themselves a human form kind of things, you know?
mm,
Gotcha.
So he in this world there's the gods made the world and then they made the dragons and then they basically left and they gave dragons the ruling of the world, so different areas are ruled by different dragons. And this one has taken a very particular interest in humans and other mortal species. and just finds them fascinating. And like a lot of them are either they guard over things and they might teach things a little bit, but they're immortal. And they kind of have life mates, but they aren't really they don't have babies or anything because there's just limited enough, but it's just kind of one of those things where before the populations were out, they kind of became really close to these. But they have other interests with, some of the long-lived beings as well. And he just thinks that humans and other shorter-lived species are fascinating in their desires. So he goes through and grants people wishes. Like the best example I can give, and the one that I've mentioned before, is there is a princess type character. I don't know if she's going to be a princess or if she's just going to be someone who is from a wealthy family or something like that, who is absolutely in love with herself. She thinks she is the most beautiful creature that there is, and she's enamored by herself, and she like spends all of her time cleaning and they like brushing her hair and making sure that she's perfect. And she realizes one day that she's eventually going to start aging and she's not going to be as beautiful as she at one point was. So she goes up to him and asks him if he will like stop her from aging, and he's like, well, the only way we can do this is I can basically he's going to kill her and put her in stasis, and then her soul can stay around, or her spirit. And but his agreement on these things is he has a tower that's a collection, or a building that has towers in it and stuff, where he collects all of the people that he does these kind of things for. So people can take tours and they can stop by, and in her room she is laying there on a bed, and her spirit goes through and like combs her hair and it just admires herself every day. And the fact that and the way that he relates with people and the little odd things that he will grant and stuff is what I really am fascinated with. And he's Brad Dourif in my mind.
That
Like,
is the
AKA your boyfriend.
most kind of like a really dark Sleeping Beauty, but a very narcissistic Sleeping Beauty.
yeah, he's amazed by the levels of narcissism and greed and just weirdness that these mortal species have. Like, so he's willing to go out like he won't just murder people for something like, oh, I want this, as a favor, but he's willing to entertain many different ideas for people. And that's also, I won't get into the rest of that's fun stuff that I'm saving for us to roll, but that's one of my favorite characters from that story. And
I can't wait to read the whole thing, or at least the whole part of that.
yeah, there's a lot of conflict around him because most of the others aren't nearly as up close and personal with the rest of the beings on the planet. And the morality behind some of the things that he does is kind of out there because in his major city that he rules over, he allows a lot of things that maybe shouldn't happen to happen.
Mhm.
But it's all because he's kind of on like he gives people free choice, but it's things like, okay, if you don't want to deal with that kind of stuff, don't go into this district. These things are allowed only in this district. Don't go there, you know? So, yeah. So that's somebody who I love him and I love when I made him and I would really like to hang out and have coffee with him
Hell yeah.
or a
Yes.
bourbon, something like that. It would be cool.
What about you, Mariah?
so
I love you
so
more every time I get to talk to you, Mariah.
um there's several like of characters that I've written. Um I definitely have a couple in the zombie book that I would like to get to
Okay,
know
so to be
better.
fair, like you modeled the characters in the zombie book pretty much right on a lot of us that were hanging out in that group back in the day.
Yeah, but the couple that weren't because
Oh,
they
that's
were
true. Yeah, there were some that weren't. Yeah.
the couple that weren't because they were so far outside of our group range.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to explore that. Um And then I have to say, writing the Vengeance of Avalon books really would like time, like one-on-one time with Merlin. I think that would be fucking sweet.
That would be sweet.
Um,
You know what character I'd like one-on-one time?
what in my book?
Uh-huh.
You?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that character, that's not me. That's a character that I created years ago. Like, to be in front of that guy's presence, that would trip me out, man.
The thing is, you have that character and what he grew into, but also you have his version, and then you have your version of his version of the character.
What's really funny is when I first wrote it, I like sent it to him and I'm like, okay, I need you to tell me yay or nay, because if this is going too far.
Well, she consulted with me like pretty heavily on that character, and this is a character that I role played with AOL 1.0 until AOL died. Like, this is the longest running character. I've probably got like 20 novels worth of content just written about this character, like, and he's already low-key been included in the Seth universe as well. So we've also talked about doing a little bit of crossover between my urban fantasy at some point in time and a little bit of what Mariah's doing. So
yeah,
like he's a very rich character.
And like
see him,
like the way he came off, the way that character came off. Raz, to me, I wrote it the way it came off to me, and when I said it to Raz, he was like, "Oh my god, yes!"
Yeah, it was about the fuck on, yeah.
He was like, "Please do this." I was like, "Okay, well, okay, got you. All right."
That's like an honor thing to me, though. Like, if I create a character like that's so well that someone likes and wants to write about, I'm like, yes, please do that thing.
I'm about to be very upset, by the way, guys. Just so we all know.
What, your phone is dying?
No, actually, I'm not on my phone. I'm actually on my PC. But
Yay!
I had pulled something. Up. I'd been using Dabble to write. It appears that because Dabble has gone to upgraded software, I can't get into it. So I have lost everything that I wrote there.
No, I got you. We'll figure it out. There's got to be a way.
You would probably be more upset about that than me.
Okay. If you give him the passwords, he can download it all and put it on like Google Doc or whatever.
Well, the whole reason I was using Dabble was so I didn't have to use Google Docs.
Yeah.
I refuse.
Folks, if you're using Google Docs, there have been a lot of things going on lately where people are losing everything that they have had on Google Docs. So I'm not saying don't use Google Docs. I am saying back up everything you have. And this is smart wherever you are. We're seeing just this second.
You know, I lost something on there the other day, but it was my own fucking fault because I deleted a folder from an old place where we used to do shows from, and I had the third episode of the Hunter's Handbook was in that folder, and I didn't realize it, and I downloaded it, so it's gone forever. So I had to start from scratch on it here recently.
Oh, no.
But that was my own dumbass fault for deleting that folder that I had on my drive. So, pay attention to your folders when you delete them.
I am probably the reason why I lost the whole entire Halloween scene as well. So, yeah. I don't want to or that because it's just been lost for months and it makes me sad. But anyway, back on wherever the topic was supposed to be because I've lost it 12 times.
You'd asked us the question about characters of ours that we would want to have like a coffee date with. We finally answered that question though.
Yeah, we finally answered that question, and I was trying to figure out where the last question was because we keep going everywhere, and then my brain keeps on like going with you and enjoying the ride. The problem is I didn't write down the questions. Normally I type them up, but it's been like the last 3 days have not been like the easiest mental days. So yeah, let's.
No, I completely get that.
We've had like a hour and 24 minutes of awesome conversation.
Netflix just announced that they're doing another New Fear Street movie, which I'm excited about.
Okay, awesome.
It's a random conversation.
Yeah, that is too. Oh yeah. If you could recommend a book for us to read, all three of you, what book would that one book be?
Okay, what?
If you could recommend a book for us to read, what would that book that makes you happy? When you think about books that make you happy, what would that book be?
Mm.
John dies at the end. That would be a book that I would highly recommend everyone in the universe read. Um,
Bookcase. And then over here.
the name of the author has changed. The original writer was David Wong. That was the name he was going with. He has since changed back to his actual name, which is Jason Pargin, Pargin, and I know I pronounced it terribly, but he's an author that I very much love. He J-Date, which is the abbreviation for the series. It's got like 4 books now, and he got another. He does all kinds of other stuff too, but like that started as a blog he would only put out on Halloween on his personal like internet blog back in the day, and people liked it so much they started printing out the chapters and putting it together and binding it and like showing it to people because back then the internet was young when he was first doing it, so not everybody had access all the time to the net. And because of that popularity, just that word of mouth and just people printing out his shit and showing it to people, he got a really nice book deal, which led to a movie deal because there is a J-Date movie, and it just kind of spawned a lot of his career. But he did stuff for Crack Magazine and all kinds of other stuff. But it is exactly like my level of bizarro horror comedy type vibe. So if you ever want to understand me a lot more, that would be a great place to start.
Okay. Ladies?
Um,
Or do I need to tell mine while y'all are thinking?
honestly, mine's The Stand.
Okay.
Unabridged.
Yeah, the unabridged version. He is correct.
I have that one definitely.
The Stand is the book that I read when I absolutely just try to remember why I do this. That book is just so rich. It is
It's long and detailed.
That very much.
it has a little bit of everything. Like
That's true.
it it's got really rich description, great scene setup. Um Stephen King, of course, great turn. You know, it is really it that book to me is quintessentially why I do this because I want to be able to write something that awesome. Like it's where I'm at.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I
I
was just thinking, I hope somebody describes me like that one day. One of my books.
Same.
I think I would have to go with if you can't read the entire Discworld series, um, which you should, you really really should.
Yes.
Um, what I used to do, and I've been doing this since I first got a copy of it like 20 years ago or something like that. Every year I take a vacation by reading Clive Barker's Imagica. And I go through the whole world and all of the different realms, and just I get to experience everything again. And it's just it's a very beautiful book. There is some turmoil in it. There is some hard to read stuff here and there in it, but overall it's just it's Barker at some of his finest. He's fabulous, and there's a lot of other stuff he's written as well. But if I had to pick one that's more standalone than a lot of his other stuff that really hit me, it would be that one. So
Okay. Mine would probably be Friday by Robert A. Hyland. because of all the stuff she goes through to find her family and to realize she does like who she is and what she is, because that is hard because she was made in a lab, literally, and she grew to adulthood in a lab with not all the training you would expect a kid to actually have or should actually get. And as for the book, I actually took a vacation in on my birthday was Drummers and Demons by D. Gabriel Jensen. I decided to take a vacation with Fia Drake. I have no idea if any of the wonderful people here have read her books, but I definitely recommend that too. But when it comes to Discworld, my friends Solosia Crane and NJ Sullivan, they took their actual vows at their wedding from Thud. It was awesome. It was beautiful. And the fact that they got their vows from a Discworld novel, I thought that was amazing.
That's cool, man. They were truly on a mission from Claude.
Exactly.
There's the wedding scene in the Tiffany Aching books. I can't remember which one it is. If it's, I think it's I Shall Wear Midnight, maybe. I, and they have the jump knave, jump whore, be married here forevermore, as they leap over the broomstick. But she has them jump over the fire as they're doing it, and they're
Oh
like,
wow.
"What are you saying about me?" It's like, okay, it doesn't really mean that. I promise. It's an old word that used to mean this. So,
Right. I
but
think Small Gods is the book for me. Out of all the books, and I've not read all of them. I've read a little over half. I own them all, like on digital, but like I've read over half of them, close to three quarters. But Small Gods is the one that I see referenced the most often in like little pop-ups. Like even um oh my god, I forget the character's name because it's been so long since I've watched it. The guy that used to sweep up the temple that became a small god in the end.
that's it.
He's in Supernatural. There's an episode in Supernatural where gods from all these different pantheons are gathering to figure out what to do about the Christian religion because all these things are happening, and he's fucking in it.
The sweeper.
Yes, he is fucking in it. And also the Clash of the Titans references in Small Gods. Right down to the game the gods play, like all that shit. Like there's like so many cool things. And I actually have designed D&D campaigns that were combo Small Gods versus Clash of the Titans, where the characters, an epic level campaigns years into playing, had a chance to join this like arena-based game to become Small Gods themselves. It was like a whole thing I did.
I love the god of the people who fish, who has like 10 followers, and then he's just like hanging out on the beach, and everybody's like showing him something. He's like, oh, and he's just like giving everybody raw fish, and then they teach him how to cook fish, and they're like, oh my god, you know.
That was probably one of my favorite characters from that book too, man. If I was the god, that's how I would choose to be. Just really enamored with everything around me and just social and just like living on a beach somewhere.
And brother,
Yeah.
I love that one. I have to go with Night Watch probably being my favorite because I celebrate Night Watch week every year. But outside it, Small Gods though stands outside of the realm, like Pyramids as well is outside of the main
Yeah.
grouping of things. There's like mentions of Ankh-Morpork. There's mentions of but there's like usually there's Ankh-Morpork. There's the Watch books, the Wizards books, the Witches books, and then the books, and then some of them that are just outside of everything.
Death is my favorite character for sure. Like in the whole everything. Like I just love that. But Soul Music was the book that I carried a battered copy with me on tour that I read frequently when we were driving from one show to the next. Like that's my most read book of all the books. But I accidentally discovered Discworld in the 90s because of the Discworld PlayStation video game. And I had no idea what Discworld actually was until I found that game and played it and beat it. And then immediately found out, because Eric Idle did one of the voices for, he did the voice for Rincewind. And then I got totally obsessed and I started watching stuff. And then they did the Color of Magic movie that had Sean Astin in it. And then it also had Tim Curry in it. And like, I flipped my shit.
It was hard for me to listen to Death in that one because he was it Sir Christopher Lee?
Yeah.
Or
it was Christopher
Lee. the way they were doing the echo thing over the voice was, I thought, entirely unneeded. I know that Death speaks in all capitals, but
Yep.
Sir Christopher Lee himself can speak in all capitals. He doesn't need
Yes.
to have a
I
modulator
agree.
going. So
What I remember most about the games is the sequel game starts out. Death is done. He's fuck everybody. He's taking a vacation. He jumps on the back of a moped and he takes off. And that's how like the second game like just starts. Like it's I'm done with you guys. Y'all are fucking morons. Like I'm out.
and Susan's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, yeah.
So they could get. I really like Susan, and that story with the when we were talking about the boogeymen, my person was a takeoff of Susan, a little bit different than Susan, but the nanny that came in was kind of like a
Mhm.
don't get scared, get angry, you know.
Have you actually played the game, the Discord games?
No, I've never been able to find it.
I
Oh,
did
I'll
not
get you
know
some
they
ROMs and stuff.
existed until today.
I'll make sure you can play it. Like this was back when games like I don't know if you ever heard of it. Escape from Monkey Island was a big thing. They're silly
I've heard
comedy
that, but I
games.
didn't play it.
Okay, and then there was another one called Blazing Saddles, which is all the same thing. Not Blazing Saddles, Jesus.
I'm
Like,
like, they
there's
made
Blazing
a
Dragons,
game.
sorry. It had the
Blazing
comedy
Saddles.
of Blazing Saddles, but it was called Blazing Dragons, and it was another game like that. And Cheech did the voice for the main dragon. It was really fun.
Oh wow.
But they're like point and click adventure, like really fucking hilarious. Like you have to find weird objects to do shit that makes no sense, but it works anyway, kind of a game. That's the only series I've ever been like introduced to ever in books like from a game like ever. And I'll never forget those games, man.
And Terry Pratchett was a huge video games fan.
Mhm.
Like Skyrim, he was all about. They actually put in a bunch of stuff from him
Yep.
that he was just like all about and writing to him. They're like, "Fucking Terry Pratchett plays our game? Oh my god!"
Dude, Pratchett and John
That's
Carpenter were probably the most known like avid gamers like out there. Like Carpenter and Pratchett actually played that together for a little bit on and off, and then after Pratchett obviously passed, Carpenter started fighting other games, and now his most favorite series is the Fallout series. So like you could be playing Fallout
Ooh.
76, and there's a small chance like the person you're playing with. Because he won't tell anybody what system he's playing on there for a while. I think he finally has now. I just don't remember what it is, but like you run a chance that you're actually playing Fallout 76 with John Carpenter, and I think that's badass.
That is wow. And your namesake in Skyrim, the Dell character, I don't like.
I've never played Skyrim, so I don't actually know.
The whole
Yeah, I've never played it.
part where
I
she
know about
wants
it.
you to kill your dragon friend because he didn't agree with her is BS.
I would not ask you to kill your dragon.
Yes, because if you asked Dante to kill Nazboo, he'd be so sad.
No, I wouldn't ask you to kill your dragon.
Like when I first released Contingency, I was actually streaming a lot.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
A lot. And I was actually getting people to go look at my book by streaming playing a video game.
Dude, that is the whole
remember that.
reason why I know who DH Dunn is and love his Yetis, his teleporting Yetis, because of his streaming.
Well, my thing is I play Dead by Daylight and I run around and I scream when the killer comes after me, and then I talk mad shit. And if I find totems, I'm sitting there talking about stroking boners. So it's just one of those things. However, if I start streaming because of the holiday next week, it's probably going to be Magic the Gathering because I want to make people cry. They reprinted one of the cards that I actually went to finals with, and I
read your post about that. By the way, I was like, oh shit, yeah.
Yeah, I built a baby deck that has that card in it, and I'm kind of like tweaking it now, but in less than 24 hours, I went from limited bronze rank 4 to gold 3. So
I had to explain how Magic worked the other day to explain because they're releasing, you know how they have the new print. I mean, you can play the cards, but they did like the Transformers cards, the Lord of the Rings series, and all that, and they can be played in certain editions, but not other ones. And
yeah, they did. They just did Lord of the Rings. They just released Doctor Who.
Yep.
Yeah, they're going to be doing the Avengers soon.
Yeah.
So, or the Marvel universe soon. So I was doing a news article on that, but had to like do the like, okay, in 2 minutes or less, explain how in the world Magic the Gathering works and how this impacts it. And because of the success that they had with the one of one ring,
Yeah.
Oh
and
yeah.
it sold to Post Malone for like over $2 million, they're considering doing that with more of their brands that they're or
Mhm.
whatever
Yeah.
it's an imprint, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing
And
is, as cool as those series are, because they can't be played in standard events or extended events, they can only be played with that specific
limited in
adventure game. It's why I haven't really got into them. However, like Magic is realizing that they're kind of losing their momentum by doing it. So what they've done these last two series with Ixalan and Eldraine is they reprinted cards that came early in the game. And because they've reprinted them, it makes them available in extended.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
that's something they did originally. Game had been out for a while. You know, you had your Alpha, Beta, Arabian Nights, Darks, Limiteds, Ice Age, and a couple other ones. And then they started outlawing certain cards and out of print
Black
stuff.
Lotus.
And
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
yeah. And then they did what was it? The Magic the Gathering Chronicles that brought back and like recollected like a whole lot of like the Ursa cards, a lot of I mean, mind you, this was like decades ago they did that last time.
Yeah, like and then they released Fifth Dawn, or yeah, they
Yep,
released
yep, Fifth
Steel
on,
Dawn
yep.
with fifth edition.
Yeah, yeah.
Steel Dawn is where everything started to change.
Yep.
And the last time that they printed Grave Pact was, I want to say it was in
I have the old
Standard 9 was the last time you saw it, because it came out the same time that they printed Living Death, which
Okay,
is
yeah.
which is where I made that crucial combo that just like floored people.
Yep.
But then they started releasing that first Kamigawa series, and you got Umeziwa's Jeet, Night Eyes the Desecrator. You got all this stuff on there. And I built that rat deck, which shouldn't have worked, but so totally did. And when
rat
they got
decks
done with
suck, dude.
Kamigawa, they did Ravnica. But after Ravnica, it's almost like they lost their mind, because for a while, the only thing that you could do, every deck that they built was meant to be 2 colors or more.
Yeah, Ravnica was weird though, because that's also when they did the crossover with Ravnica and D&D.
Yeah. No, that was the new one, because they did Ravnica. They did a second Ravnica.
Well,
And
yeah, but I mean,
Okay.
they completely collected it with D&D and added a lot of magic stuff into D&D, and I was kind of like, and that set a precedence to do with pretty much everything that they do. The whole company. I'm surprised there's not Barbie World
There's probably
this
going
point
to be and a My
in
Little
D&D.
Pony one, and
Yeah.
it's gonna suck.
There's already a Rick and Morty World in D&D now.
Yeah. So for anybody who plays competitively, though, all these new sets that they're doing, like the Lord of the Rings and all that, you can't play any of that stuff competitively. You can play it in Commander, you can play it in Adventure or Alchemy, but you can't play it in Standard Ranked, and you can't play it in Extended Ranked.
Oh,
But
damn.
they've reprinted Grave Pact, which was a mistake. They never should have reprinted that card and made it available for extended, because I'm going to tell you, anybody who has played this game as long as I have, who loves playing mana black decks, that right there, you win.
Yep.
I have my old decks, and I remember Urza Saga, I remember Mirrodin, I remember a couple of other things coming out, and then I basically quit collecting, at least by packs. Like I might go in and buy a card here or there,
Yeah.
but all of my old decks, I had this guy named Mike that used to come over and play with us, and he'd bring in all of his like, this card cost $150 and it puts all these counters on things when this gets happening and this happens here and this is this, so this is my new, like $1,000 deck. Let me take you on. I'd be like, okay, and I'd get out my red slide that was full of Mog stuff and Like I had 2 yokel hops, 4 Mog Maniacs, couple other gobbies and stuff in it, and I would just destroy him. And he'd be like, "But this. We play against a longer deck." So I'd be like, "Okay." So then I would take out my Megrim deck, and I
Yes.
would destroy him with that. And he's like, "Well, you can't play with these cards." I'm like, "I'm not going out and buying new cards because you want to test your deck again. If your deck cannot stand up against these old decks, then it's probably not going to do any better against the same decks against the decks with the more improved stuff that you're doing."
Yeah.
But my favorite thing was just to like, oh God, the Mog Maniacs were so much fun. I beat somebody in a tournament once because, okay, for everybody out there who doesn't understand what in the fuck I'm talking about, um, basically it's a creature that comes out, and if you don't understand Magic, you're not paying attention to
We
this
can't help you.
conversation anyway.
Yeah.
But the Mog Maniac is a creature that it'll take damage, but it redirects the damage once it takes the damage itself, but it also redirects the exact same amount of damage back on the player, not on their field, but on the player as what it takes. So I would keep a deck stacked with buffs. So somebody would come and be like, "Okay, I'm attacking you with this," and I'm like, "Okay," and I cast, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was something that gave like a +4/+0, and it's destroyed at the end of turn. I'd be like, "I cast this on it," and they're like, "Okay."
Reflection.
No, it was before that, but it was a red card anyway. But I would keep putting it up until like their card was dealing like 17 damage to me, and then I'd be like, "Response," and they're like, "Okay." "Response." "Okay." And be like, "Okay, I block with my Maniac, it dies, you die." And they're like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "It's been sitting on the table. You If you don't know what the card does, and I gave you ample time as I buffed your card 3 times
Yep.
to know what the fuck was going on," and people were just like, "Oh, that's no fair." And it's like, yes, it is. It's
Yep.
absolutely fair, absolutely legal, totally simple. And if people built up too much, I was playing a deck that only cost 1 or 2 to get anything out on the table.
Yep.
So I would just stockpile and yokel hops the shit out of everything. So all these people that have these like carefully built up setups and everything, and this, oh, I finally just got all of my elves and my green mana and this all together so I could bring out this card, and you just cast yokel hops. Why do you even? Nobody plays with yokel hops. I play with yokel hops. I play with 2, just so when you build it up again, it goes away as well.
Yep. That's what I had my white-black creation destruction deck for. Armageddon, Swords to Plowshares, just wrecking everything every 5 seconds and then putting out nothing but tackle maggots and plague rats.
Plague rats.
I
So
love destroying people.
my Kamigawa rat deck, which is what I went to finals with, it had 4 Megrams, and then it had 4 Ravenous Rats. Everything else that was in that deck were the rat ninjas that came out in Kamigawa. You had the Skull Snatcher, which caused people to discard cards. And what you would do is you would swing with a Ravenous Rat. Nobody's going to block that. It's a 1/1. But you bounce it back to your hand with ninjutsu and get to play it again and make them discard another card. Night Eyes the Desecrator, Patron of the Nezumi, Nap Misers to shrink the hand size, Okiba Game Shinobi again to shrink the hand size. If I could play out most of that deck in 4 mana and playing it out, if it played the way it was supposed to, by like turn 4, they could only have 3 cards in hand, if any at all. Like, and people got really upset because, when Kamigawa came out, they were like, "Oh, well, you're only playing Kamigawa stuff." Well, they had reprinted the Megram with that standard set. Why would you not? Like, you're making them get rid of their hand.
Yeah.
Use it. Do damage. And a lot of people got salty about that going to tournaments.
The problem is none of them thought about what the card actually does. They thought about having the bigger for lack of a better word, deck and bigger dick cards.
Yeah.
They didn't realize just because it was small that it couldn't be massive.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I can't spend a hell of a lot of money on Magic. It's why I'm playing online. At least online I can play games, I can earn coins, and I can get packs that way. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
physically holding them in my hand, but I can still play the game.
Yep.
My only card I was talking about before, it was Blood Frenzy from Tempest.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. But for me, like there are people that go on this game and they put in thousands of dollars to get all these, brand new shiny great cards that have come out in these series, and then there's me who's like, oh, I got 100 coins, let me go get a pack.
Yeah.
Is what I do. So they build these big expensive decks, and it's got this complicated, cast order, and they have to have like 12 mana, so they have all this stuff for mana creation, and they're sitting there and they're like, haha, I just pulled this off and I put this on the field, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna tap 2 mana and I'm gonna kill that.
There are also squirrel decks.
Yes.
Yes, there are.
Speaking of which, we have squirreled off completely from
Yes,
story
we have
writing
again.
this whole time.
Well, that's fine.
Sorry,
It's
we were
been
nerding out,
the
guys.
most- It's been one of the most wonderful conversations. We actually finally got to have a real conversation with Mariah, because I always get to have conversations with Raz and Karie, but you're loved too, and we needed to have you. And since we're starting to hit the 2-hour mark, let's go ahead and
Oh
close
shit!
out
Yeah.
the show.
I didn't even realize that, but yeah, it is almost dark.
That's why because we can continue this conversation.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
just
Oh
wanna
yeah.
Fine,
have
it's
everybody else sit through it.
Okay,
Oh.
Karie, tell people where to find you.
Hello, everybody. You can find me. Easiest place to find me is on Facebook at take the Leigh out of that. Well, you can find me at Karie Leigh Saunders, right there. But that is my author page. So if you just put Karie Saunders, you'll see a crow. That's my avatar. That is me, and that has all of my links. It goes to my Amazon page. It goes to my stuff with the Owlite. It goes to my author page. It goes to Delphine, who is the crow that shows up and hangs out in this body most of the time on the Owlite network. You can also find me over at the Dorking Network on Splash Pages, where we do comic book reviews and news on Tuesday nights and interviews. So, yeah, that's pretty much everywhere you can find me. And most of the time, you're going to be hearing back from either Jenny or from Jenny telling me, hey, Karie, somebody's actually trying to talk to you. So, there you go. And Ratatosker will hang out and get drunk with you if you ever get bored. Just say like, I would like to drink with your squirrel, and I'll be like, okay. And we'll just sit down and have a chat, and he likes bourbon, he likes
In any
moonshine,
other context.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It all works out. So that's where you find me.
Mariah.
Well, as you can see in the bottom corner, you can find me on Facebook under Mariah Linde. There is also a Mariah Linde author page on Facebook. That is also me, but I work a lot, so there's not much on it. You can find my books on Amazon. I'm also on under at Mariah Linde. And I do have a Twitch. I do stream video games, and that is twitch.tv/LadyDarkJedi1. Surprise Star Wars reference. Who knew? You can pretty much get in contact with me on Facebook. I don't have a really snappy author page, and I don't have a whole lot of promo stuff, so you might have to look for me a little bit, but I'm there, I promise.
Yeah. I can find her, you can find her, and I didn't really try. And I've dug up some very interesting things about Raz.
Oh, tons, like all the time.
A couple times. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
All of the links are listed wherever links go. And the Raz.
Find me at rastslasher.com. Currently, you can find me in the basement doing nothing but making videos and wrapping up haunt season and writing and talking to you guys here on the shows. I really don't have a lot going on right now other than looking forward to resting next week because officially as of Sunday, I can count haunt season mostly in the bag for all my all the most of the stuff that I've got to do other than some videos for Christmas. But yeah, just type in Rasty / you'll talk to Jenny for sure.
Okay, obviously, you can find me at Karie Leigh Saunders. You can find me at Rasty. You can find me at Faycore. You can find me at Friday with the Library in the Blue Box, which is actually my page. And yes, I am a Whovian. I am a proud
Okay,
Whovian.
I was gonna ask because the last time that you said that, I was like, that sounds like a Doctor Who reference.
Yep.
I have been a
This is actually
Whovian so long. I've watched the black and white episodes recently over again just because I wanted to, and I could
Oh
not,
yeah.
under any circumstances, watch another cartoon dog again that day.
That's fair.
our names on this brand page are actually TARDIS Blue.
Yes.
Just a
Nice.
little tidbit, so you know.
She said I could have all my stuff in TARDIS Blue, so I'm like, this is
Fuck
the
yeah.
next code. Let's do that. My group is Friday Blues Disorganized Library. Please come find me at either of those places. You'll actually get me. And it's awesome if you actually want to find me. But either way, these three are amazing authors. I love their stuff. I hope to actually do a full dive like I have Karie's and Raz's with Mariah soon. I'm working on building a collection of her books. And I hope you go through and build a collections of all of their stuff as well. Thank you for coming to the show.
It's better to your friends.
Bye.